Slack and E Major welcome you to the My Type of Hype podcast, where we celebrate hip-hop, not just the hype.
How y'all feel out there?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back. Another episode of My Type of Hype. As always, your boy Slack in the building. And my co-host extraordinaire, co-pilot, co-defendant. What's happening, brother?
Hey man, E Major, My Type of Hype, the podcast that celebrates hip hop. I mean, there's a lot of talk about hype this, hype that, but we're here to celebrate hip hop, man. That's what we're here for. We love the culture and we want to celebrate the greatness, man. So, my brother Slack, what's happening in the back? How you doing?
All good, bro. Can't complain, man. Life is treating me well right now. So back in the seat. We got some real exciting episodes coming up as well, man. I can't tell you
loving it.
Right now, but we got some real good shit in the can. Some real good
excited, man.
Some good topics coming up, so stay tuned. Thank you as always to everyone who subscribed, everyone who watches, listens on Spotify. Big shout outs to you. Bro, kick off, man. What's the topic of the day? What's happening?
Yeah, so we thought we'd do another tribute episode, man. So if you remember how we was running before, we've done a few tribute episodes. Primo, Redman, can't remember a couple others. So yeah, we thought we'd do another tribute episode today, man. We thought we'd do a little tribute to this dude behind me right here, none other than Ice Cube. So we thought we'd take some time and just talk about the OG from the West Coast today, man. So we've got a few questions lined up, a few little bits and pieces we wanted to throw out there. Yeah, man, just take some time and give flowers to, 50 years of hip hop. Want to celebrate the OGs, those who've just been doing it from the beginning, man, and impacted the culture, man. So, yeah, Ice Cube, man. So we're looking forward to your comments, your inputs, anything you want to mention and throw in about the episode as well, man. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize the people that made it possible for us to have a hip hop culture in this era. It's too common for people to disrespect legends, talk shit about them.
Yeah.
You retrospectively, this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, they wouldn't have careers if it weren't for these people laying the foundations and, not even making crossover music. Like, let's be honest, Cube wasn't making no music charts and shit, you know what I mean?
Did not care.
The mainstream came to him. So I guess the first thing is, I'm guessing you would have heard him the same. Like, where did you first hear Ice Cube? Let's go with that.
Bro, keeping it real, I was thinking about this question, and I was thinking, when's the first time I heard Ice Cube? Now, obviously the first time, and I know I've shared this story before, I've said it was my big sister that got me into hip hop. Always have to continue to give her the shout out. So obviously she was listening to NWA, EPMD, all of that in the late 80s. So I would have heard him from NWA straight out of Compton, but them times I was like 7 years old, so I weren't really paying attention like that, believe it or not. So not the first time I heard, but the first time that he actually kind of caught my attention and I thought, who's this, was actually jacking for beats. And I know that's going to be late for some people because that was like 1990, innit? So I think he had dropped the first album, innit?
It was Kill It Will that came after America's Most Wanted.
Right, so he had dropped that. So that's pretty late for a lot of people. But I remember sitting down watching the video, and I just thought, this is so sick, man. Do you know what I mean? The switching up and just him, he just looked like proper intimidating and that. And I was like, yeah, this dude. And then I remember talking about him to my sister because she loved the Ice Cube, innit? So she was like, I was like, talk about him. She was like, he's the one from that song, like straight out of Compton, innit? So I'm like, is that him? So I'm 7, 8 years old, I'm piecing it together. So I remember going back and watching the video again and thinking, wow, that's the same dude. So I know that's going to be like mind blowing or late for a lot of people, but when you're young, you're not really putting all the pieces together like that, innit? So obviously it would have been straight out of Compton, would have been the first time I heard him, but the first time he actually really registered, because I didn't hear America's Most Wanted when it first dropped. I was too young, I weren't really paying attention to that. So yeah, it would have been jacking for beats, man. That would have been the first time I was really like, right, who's this dude? Do you know what I mean? And then going back to NWA, seeing him at the Jerry Curl, because obviously he just had like a, you know what I mean, like a whatever, he had like number one or something in it. Them times with when I was Actually, I'm thinking, did he? Jacking for Beats. I know he had the hood up and the hat up.
He had the
I
hood
don't
up
even know,
and
bro.
the-
Did he have his
he did
hair
have-
cut them times?
I think he did have the Jerry curl still. I think it
Did
was.
he? Yeah, he probably did actually.
I think it was the next album. By the time he did Predator, I think that's
Lethal Injection. No, not Lethal Injection.
Death Certificate.
Death Certificate. Yeah,
I think that's when he cut it off.
first cut his hair. Yeah, but yeah. So that would probably be the first for me, man. And that's when it started registering, man. What about you? I'm guessing straight out of Compton.
Yeah, straight out of Compton, and only because of my uncle who got me into hip hop in the first place. My dad was very his taste in music was very kind of eclectic. Like he had a bit of everything. He had hip hop, he had reggae, he had funk, he had dance music. So there was like everything played in the house. He had a system that literally went from the floor all the way to the ceiling.
Yeah,
and as a kid, I was looking up like because it was the one with the two reels.
Yeah, so of course. Yeah.
So I'm looking up like, how does my dad get to the top? Because obviously I'm like, does he have to climb up to put a cassette in and all that kind of stuff? So he used to play, but he wouldn't play any of the explicit stuff around me. But I'll go to my uncles now or around my cousins and stuff, and he will be playing. So he'd be like, come, you got to listen to this. Because my mum will be like, don't play that music in front of him. Don't play all that kind of stuff. But he's playing me on the low. So he's like, yeah, listen to this cue. So, or the NWA. So after I heard that now, I had my pocket money. So I said to my older cousin, because I was too young, if I walked in, they wouldn't have served me. So I've given him my money and I said, can you buy me this album? So he bought me the NWA cassette he bought me the NWA cassette. And I played the hell out of that album. Back, I would have been, I don't even know how old, maybe 9 or something like that. Not 8, 9. And I just remember playing it, man. That intro, straight out of Compton, I must have played it back 100 times. A crazy MF named Ice Cube, like that's the great introduce yourself to. Trust me. I mean, so yeah, that was just different, man. Different times. I had to hide the cassette from my parents. That cassette lived under my bed. A lot of the other stuff I had, that was fine. That was out on, but that one had to hide because if my mom or dad found out I had that, it was over. So I had to make sure I had
100%, bro. Bro, you know what's mad about that? Like, we're both parents, innit? When we were that age listening to what we was listening to, yeah, even Snoop, bro. Like, I say Snoop because that's probably, 93, them times. That's probably the first hip hop album I was obsessed with, innit? Well, apart from like MC Hammer, but Snoop Doggy Style was like the first album I was obsessed with. You know what I mean? And bro, like we had no business, man. I'm thinking about that. If my son or whatever, 8, 9 years old, just listening to something like NWA, I'd be like, what? Do you know what I mean? But then it just felt so normal, didn't it?
I understand
of course.
Now. At the time, my mom she hated Snoop, like hated him. Like but I loved it because his video was always coming on, and she's like, "Oh, who's this dog guy?" Like she hated him, but I understand it because you listen to it now, and it's very misogynistic.
100.
So I kind of get where she was coming from, but as a kid, I'm like, "What? This is the greatest shit ever." But I get it.
That's funny, bro.
So Cuba's got some great music, man. Like great albums that have stood the test of time. And this might be a difficult one, but what would you say is your personal favorite Ice Cube album and why?
You know what? Not too long ago, I was constructing like sometimes on the timeline I throw up an artist and then just do their catalog in order. And I think I put might have been not America's. Yeah, I think I put America's Most Wanted as my favorite, if I remember rightly. But you know what? Recently, just listening to his albums again, I know it's not his best album. I know what you're going to
say. I know exactly what you're going to say.
Because no one agrees. I'll get sated for it. But I think Lethal Injection, yeah, bro. Like, serious. I think Lethal Injection, man. Like, listening to them again, not his best album. I think his best album is probably America's Most Wanted, yeah? or maybe even Death Certificate. But I don't know, man. It's something about Lethal Injection for me. It might have been, and I'll be the first to admit it, man. It might be nostalgia. Like I've said a million times on the podcast, that's the kind of year that I really began to invest in hip hop for myself, like purchasing music myself and building my own collection rather than just stealing my sister's records. You know what I mean? So it might be all to do with that. But Lethal Injection for me was the first Ice Cube album that I actually bought with my own money and owned myself and had access to myself. So it's always got an important place in my heart, man. But I just think it's such a strong start. Couple songs I could probably do without, but that might be my personal favorite, man. So to answer your question, I'll say personal favorite, Lethal Injection. Best, I'll probably say America's Most Wanted. But yeah, I think that, man. What about you, bro?
Now, contrary to popular belief, I also love Lethal Injection. That song really though, like the way he sets off that album, literally, really though, Ghetto Bird, you know how we do it, bitch. Like that's an insane run of songs.
Just
so when it started, Ghetto Bird, I was just like, that beat is hard.
Yeah, man.
Really go listen to what he's saying on that tune, and even
love that, bro.
And this time he's got the fro now, so he ain't even got the back. Like he's got the Afro pick going on, and that's for me. Don't get me wrong, he came out like hard from Straight Outta Compton. Death Certificate is like super hard. America's Most is super hard. Predator is super hard, but there was something about his attitude on Lethal Injection where he was kind of more laid back, but still hard as fuck. Like,
yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Just
the way he was saying stuff, it wasn't as angry, it wasn't as vitriolic, but it was still very menacing. But he was a lot calmer, and I really love that shit, man. So the first 6 songs on Lethal Injection, I'll put that up against any Cube album, 100%. Yeah. Because I could still name them like without even looking at the track list. That's how much I listened to that. So when it got to Bop Gun, because Bop Gun was about 8 minutes.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you what you think of that song.
So on the cassette, Bop Gun was the last track on side A. Side B was because you had Little G's, you had Make It Smooth. You had a few songs that I like the song with KD. I think it was
KD,
it wasn't as strong.
When I Get to Heaven, and
So the second half kind of labored a little bit. So I understand why people say it's not as good. I get it. It's not my fave Cube album, but I love the album. But my favorite Cube album it's probably got to be Death Certificate, and I would say that because it had such an influence on me personally. Like a lot of my family are very they're very into just being black, like black and proud. You know
man.
An album like that, I was very, I'm soaking everything up like a sponge. Like my uncle would do a lot of art, like a lot of black people. He was like a graphic designer, so there was always like some brilliant like art just on the walls, and my parents were very Afrocentric kind of, black and proud, be proud of who you are, don't let you or anything different, that kind of stuff. So that album spoke to me a lot because of my upbringing. You know what I mean? It was never you've got to blend in and all that kind of shit. It was like you be proud of who you are and you make sure, you know what I mean? So that album right there was the stuff he was talking about, man, because obviously I was back and forth between here and America a lot as well. So learning about all the stuff that was hearing it from his perspective, it was brilliant album, man. And even listening to it now, it still holds up. It's still strong. It's still relevant as well. A lot of the stuff that he's saying on there about being black in America is still extremely relevant. And just, it just meant a lot to me growing up. So I would say maybe it's nostalgia, but it's not, because the music is still good. So that's, I think Cube is such a dope artist, man, because not only was he making music that does last the test of time, but he wasn't pandering to any kind of charts or sales. He was saying what he wanted to say. He was unapologetic. He was fierce, and that is what hip hop was all about, man. So I'd say
agreed, man. He embodies that, man. Let me ask you a question. When you speak about lethal injection, you mentioned about Bop Gun. Do you like it or not? Because I know that there's people, man. It's a love or hate song. Do you like Bop Gun?
That's a very good question.
Bro, I know people that hate it, bro.
So my
But then
honest
I know
answer
people
is
that love
this.
it. Mm.
When I heard it on the album, when I first got the album, and you've got like I listed, Really Though, Ghetto Bird, You Know How We Do It, Cave Bitch. Then I'm like, Bop Gun doesn't stand up to those songs. Those songs are elite. Bop Gun, when I first heard it, I was like, it's too long. It just goes on
It's
forever.
definitely too long.
It went on for about, I think it's 8 minutes. It goes on forever. But the video version was much shorter, obviously, because they're not going to play an 8-minute song on a video. So I think so that kind of got me into it a bit more. And I love George Clinton. Like my dad used to play a load of George Clinton stuff in the house. So, but over time, it grew on me. When I first heard it, I wasn't a fan. I ain't gonna lie to you. But over time, I could listen to it now. You know what I'm saying? Like
I love it, bro. I love it.
Yeah, I actually think it's dope now, to be honest with you.
I love it. I loved it from the get-go, bro. But there were people around me that like hated it. And even as you grow up and you start talking about it, people hate it, man.
I feel like it fit in with the tone of the album. You know what I'm saying? Like
the album
was so hard. And then it came to Bop Guy, and it was like, I think he started the song like much more by, and I was like, what was that? So it took me a while to
It's funny. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah, you're right. Though. I'm never gonna hear that and not laugh again. But trust me. But yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. I love it, man.
Like, is this dude? Like, what's happening? But
yeah, that's funny. That's funny.
Man, yeah, he killed it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So this is probably a question that
that's funny.
But what would you say are your top three Cube albums?
Top three albums would then have to be. I've got to put Lethal Injection in there. And I was looking at my tweet the other day, and I think I put that as 4th or 5th. Man, I'm like, nah, it's mad how your mood can change. But yeah, definitely Lethal Injection top 3. For me, I'd probably put it as my favorite personally, but not in any order. Lethal Injection, definitely America's Most Wanted. I want to say Death Certificate, but if I'm honest with you, I listen to Predator more than even Death Certificate. So I think for me personally, it would probably be Predator, Lethal Injection, and America's Most Wanted. Yeah, they're the three. And I'll be crucified for not putting Death Certificate as top 3, but yeah, I think those 3, man. I think those 3 for my listening pleasure, definitely those.
Yeah. Yeah, this is tough, man, because I think I'd have to include Kill at Will as well, because that was important. Then on top of that, you've got bootlegs and B-sides too. That was also hard.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh shit, man, this is tough. All right, so I'm gonna go Death Certificate. I want to go America's Most Wanted, because do you know how brave that was? We could touch on this later, but that was so brave for him to do what he did on that album. For him to leave the biggest rap group in the world, go and get production from the East Coast, and make it slap. Come on, man.
Yeah. Even the styling of the triple K in that, man, the KKK, do you know what I mean? He's literally just out the gate, just gunning for them, man. You know what I mean? Out the gate. And even Chuck D was saying that he thought it was a bad idea. Like he said to Cube, like, don't leave NWA. Do you know what I mean? Like he said, they were massive at the time. He's like, nah, don't do it, man. But he done it. But I love the link up though.
We'll touch on that because I think that's a big part of his career as well. The fact that
100.
The fact that he told them, this guy's robbing you, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? And then for him to have the career he did was incredible. But we'll come to that. But,
agreed.
Shit, man. What's third? Do I go Lethal Injection? I don't know. That's tough, man. It's got to be Lethal Injection or Kill at Will. I like Predator, and it's got some of his most recognizable songs on there, like Wicked and Good Day and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Shit, man. I don't know. I got a pussy out, and I gotta say I got tired. I got tired.
Okay.
Putting another one on top of another one, it just don't feel right. I gotta go with Lethal Injection and shit, man. Kill It Will and Predator. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
No, I hear that. Them first initial runs are hard, bro. Any order.
Is West Side Connection included?
See, me personally, I wouldn't include them because I feel like if you're looking at, and I have this debate on Twitter all the time, man. Like if you're looking at like with Jay-Z's Dynasty album, but it's you know what I mean, it's a rock album, it's not a Jay-Z album. We know that, and we know what it was meant to be. But for me, the reason I wouldn't count West Side, I'm gonna say West Side Story, West Side Connection, is if you look at the credits and if you look at the discography, it's not going to be down as an Ice Cube album. It's down as a West Side Connection. So I wouldn't include that, which is why I don't include the Rock Dynasty as a Rockefeller album. I deem it as a Jay-Z album because it's down listed as one of his albums.
Yeah, Dynasty was supposed to be a Rockefeller album.
It was supposed to be, exactly.
The album. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I can
do you know
that. So yeah, I would say those. All right. So not as restrictive. What would you say are your fave Cube songs?
Songs?
It doesn't have to be a set number on this. But what would you say are your fave songs from him?
I mean, it does depend on mood, but I know for sure. I know probably my top 2 of all time, definitely, and they'll never change. Is definitely Wicked. I know it's singles, people frown on the singles, but Wicked for me, like, bro, like I don't think I've listened to that song once. Every time it finishes, I put it back.
Yeah,
like the video, the song, like Don Jaguar on the hook, like everything about it. It's just, I was gonna say Wicked, like literally everything about it, man, start to finish. I love it, man. Like literally, it doesn't put a foot wrong at any time. Like nothing to do with it. So yeah, that's for me is definitely my favorite Ice Cube song of all time. And then I'm probably gonna go with How We Do It.
Sick.
It's just that beat, bro. It's just like the smoothest thing like ever. Do you know what I'm saying?
Hard as well.
Yeah. No doubt. That's what I'm saying. It's yeah. How We Do It, man. It's the one where if you're driving and it's summer and it's just getting a little bit dark.
Yeah.
That's just the one you want to pull out and just blaze. You know what I mean? So that's the song for me, man. So definitely those top 2. Really Though as well. Once again, that's just an incredible song, man. I love Really Though. Cave Bitch for the humor. I know it's like proper politically incorrect, but
and he
now.
He won't even joke.
Say that again? No, that's what I'm saying. Even to now, like I'll hear it. I must have played it recently again, maybe last month, and it literally makes me laugh. But it's like a shock and awe laugh because it's like, how did this guy do this and get away with it? And I just think it's humorous, man. It's funny, man. But I know they're mainly singles, but they are the ones. I'm not a big, massive fan of. Nah, I'm not going to say that. Today Was a Good Day. I love. Do you know what I mean? But I just think it's probably one of the most played out hip hop songs. Like you're always going to hear it everywhere you go.
I don't, man. Like that's the sample.
It can't.
Everything is just perfect about that song, man.
Definitely. There's another one I had in mind as well. Summer Vacation. Yeah, but they're the ones. They're probably my favorite ones. That I like the most. But so many songs that I do check for and pull back. But they're probably the 3 that if I was ever making a list of like favorite hip hop songs of all time, those would have to be in there. Do you know what I mean? So I'm gonna go with those, man. And then it all depends on mood for others. What are you throwing at?
No Vaseline.
You go straight for the beef.
That is like, if you've never heard a diss track before, you hear that, then you know that's diss track right there. Jacking for Beats, because that is
Oh,
incredible.
of course.
Taking everyone's beats and telling
Mhm.
you this is a full-time Jack move. Like, what you got to do
Mhm.
about it? Just crazy. And killed it. Because he could have stolen those beats and everyone be like, that was shit. But he took those beats, it was blended perfectly,
Perfectly.
picked those beats perfectly, and then he killed it on top of it. So man, really dope. I love really dope. I love the remix to Check Yourself.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I should have mentioned that. Actually,
Yeah,
love that as well.
using that classic beat again. So, yeah, man, just like Cube proved that he could be from LA and he could do everything that the East Coast guys were doing.
It's true, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At a time where, and that's why I think he was so pissed on West Side Connection album, because he was like, I've shown you guys nothing but love, like all the way from America's Most Wanted. I'm working with the Bomb Squad. I've sampled a lot of East Coast music. Like he showed a lot of East Coast. And then I don't know, he was slighted or whatever, but yeah.
Shout out a lot of East Coast MCs as well on this project. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, today was a good day. Incredible song. Cave Bitch, Ghetto Bird, I think is an amazing song.
Yeah.
I Want to Kill Sam. That's a statement record. There's so many, man. Yeah, I'd say those would be like upper echelon for me. I could name a whole more, but I'd say if you had to ask me like my favorite, I don't know how many I named, maybe 5 or so. I'd have to say that like the top bar for me.
100%. Yeah.
Song, sorry. All right, so we had Mount Westmore. We've had Snoop playing claim to him being the greatest. We've had E40.
look at you.
Greatest. Had Too Sure. We've had The Game. We've had all these people. Tupac. Where would you rank Cube amongst these dudes from California?
You know what? For me, man, Ice Cube. I think if we're talking about of all time West Coast, he has. I personally think he has to be in the top 3. Now there may be people that you know what I mean. No pun intended, but yeah, if there was a West Coast Mount Rushmore, yeah, he'd have to be on that. Do you know what I mean? He may not be your favorite rapper or lyricist or MC from the West Coast, but when I think of West Coast, I think of Ice Cube. Do you know what I'm saying? And yeah, you can think about your newer MCs. Of course you can. But, you know, like we said earlier, man, we want to give flowers to the OGs, man. And when you really think about the people that was holding it down for the West Coast, it was Ice Cube. You know what I'm saying? To a point where at times, maybe we'll mention this later, but at times I actually thought he came across as a bit petty at times, because I felt like for me personally, I felt like at one stage he was trying to not let that East-West Coast beef die, in a sense. I know what you said earlier, and I do agree with that in regards to holding down the West and showing love to the East. But like you said, he was pissed off on that West Side Connection album. And it almost felt a bit like, you know what I mean? Just do your thing. You don't need to keep kind of bringing up the West Coast this, West Coast that. But that's him, I think. So if I'm looking at a West Coast artist and I'm looking at a Rushmore in the top 3, I'd have to rank him top 3, top 4.
Who would you put above him if you're saying top 3?
You know what's crazy? You know what's crazy? When I was saying that, I was literally thinking about what you just said. I was literally thinking in my mind, like, if I'm saying top 3, who would I think? I mean, I know Ice-T was born on the East Coast, but I'd think of Ice-T. Yeah. I put something out on Twitter recently where I said, you know, who do you think had more influence on hip hop, Ice-T or Ice Cube? And Ice Cube won like by a landslide, but I was actually surprised by that, because I actually think Ice-T, I don't think we'd really have, I don't want to say we wouldn't have Cube without Ice-T. I don't necessarily think that's true, but Ice-T, I think, was literally one of like the well, the OG in it. Do you know what I'm saying? For like West Coast gangster rap and things like that.
I think he's
So
underrated. I think Ice-T is
100%,
heavily underrated.
100%,
But I think a lot of people
100%.
give credit to the 80s when it comes to hip hop. It's almost like when you're talking about hip hop, it starts at 1990. Like it doesn't.
90s, yeah,
Anything before that is discounted immediately. But
yeah,
when you think about what Ice-T was doing in like the late 80s, early 90s,
yeah.
he was making some like that
That's
OG
what I
album,
mean, man.
Power album. Like he was,
Hmm.
yeah, he's got to be up there for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man.
For sure.
Without a doubt, the rhyme pays. I mean, a lot of people did like Home Invasion because it was kind of, I don't know, it was a bit different to what he was doing. But he's got like a couple of classics under his belt. There's no doubt about that. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think to answer your question, I'd probably say Ice-T. If I was going to put anyone over Ice Cube for West Coast, like, you know what I mean, GOAT, it'd probably be Ice-T. I don't know if anyone else really deserves to be over. I know people may argue Kendrick and this, but I'm going to try and explain this properly. Everyone knows how much I love Tupac, but Tupac represents the West Coast. He's a West Coast rapper. We understand that. But there's something different between being a rapper from the West Coast and actually being the West Coast. I don't know if that makes any sense, man. But for me, I think that's Ice Cube. When I think of the West Coast, I think of Ice Cube. When I think of West Coast, I don't think of Kendrick Lamar. I don't think of Tupac. I don't think of these people that people may hold higher than Cube, possibly. I think of Ice-T. I think of Ice Cube. To be honest with you, I even think of The Game like more than Kendrick or Tupac if I'm thinking about West Coast hip hop. You see what I'm saying? And he don't rank higher than them two for me in hip hop wise, but I'm just saying. Snoop, obviously. Snoop, he could be probably a worthy mention, but at the same time, you can definitely say there'd be no Snoop without Cube. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, man, I'd probably say Ice-T. Probably, I don't know who else, but I'd probably put Ice Cube would probably be, he's got to be top 3, if not top 2. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's got to rank high. Definitely.
Yeah, I hear that still. I would have to say, Cube. He ticks all the boxes, man. But then I think he's got better albums than Ice-T. Although Ice-T's got a couple albums that I really like, I think Cube's albums are better than T's. I think he raps better than Ice-T. But when you look at everything, like both of them have clocked hip hop. They've done everything possible.
Exactly.
Both of them literally kicked down the doors with their debuts. Both of them have got classic albums. Both of them have got classic songs. Both of them have dominated in movies and TV. So they've actually been able to go away from hip hop and still flourish well into their 50s or wherever they're at now. Both of them are unapologetic. They've never like pandered to this is what's hot. Like they made the music that they wanted to make. And when you think about the time that they was bringing music out, where a lot of people pandering to radio and try to do friendly stuff, they weren't doing all that stuff.
None of it.
Ice-T had this chick on a thing like with a gun behind her back, and like Ice Cube had flipping a toe tag on Uncle Sam on his album.
Yeah, exactly.
These guys were playing around, man. Like it's different caliber of MC, and that's what I loved about hip hop. It's a lot of that's changed now. But then with Tupac, I never looked at Tupac as a West Coast MC.
That's what I mean.
Because it wasn't until All Eyes on Me where he was doing all this.
Yeah.
That was his 4th album.
Yeah, 4th.
Ice Cube was West Coast from Straight Outta Compton. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right, so exactly.
I always associated him with LA. Tupac, I know he was with Digital Underground and all that kind of stuff from the Strictly album. But I know he was a transport from New York or whatever. But I don't think if the West Coast have embraced him as a West Coast rapper, then who am I to argue? That's cool. But me personally, I just don't know if there's. I don't, like you said, I don't connect Pac with LA
the West Coast.
with Cube.
Right.
Because Tupac moved around. He was in the Bay, he was in New York, he was here, he was there, but Cube was always in LA. Do you know what I mean? But if Tupac was there, he'd definitely be high. He's done everything. He done films. He's got the classic albums, the timeless songs. He's got it all as well.
Exactly.
And shorter time span because he died at 25. So God only knows what he'd be doing now. So him, Cube, Ice-T. I've got a lot of time for Too Short as well, like his career, the longevity. I mean, he was talking about retiring in the mid-90s, which tells you how long his
exactly. Yeah.
Snoop, I think, fell out of love with hip hop when Dre left Death Row. I think there was too much going on at Death Row. His Tupac dying, Dre leaving, all the beef and all the murders and everything that was going on, him barely escaping jail. So I think that ruined his music career. I just think he lost passion. Like you could tell on the Dogfather album, he didn't give a shit. He was just like,
bro, that's terrible.
Next, then No Limit and all this. So I think that hurt his music career. But he's another person who's done it all: movies, TV.
100%.
He'll sell you whatever. He'll sell you a bag of chips. Like he'll sell you anything with Snoop Dogg on there.
So recognizable, isn't it? Worldwide.
He's probably the most famous rapper. He could go anywhere in the world and people know who Snoop is.
Uncle Snoop,
and people could walk past them, not know who they are. But Snoop, everyone's gonna know Snoop.
So
it's hard to say like who's the greatest from the West Coast because a lot of people have claims. Like if you look at what Puck achieved at 25, that's absolutely insane when you think about it. So yeah, I definitely put him very high up there. I'm not sure where I could say like because there's about 4 or 5 rappers that have a very strong claim as well for West Coast, but he's definitely like without question in the conversation. And I'd happily say top 2. I don't know who I'd put at number 1. I don't want that. That's kind
the struggle.
But he's up there for sure.
No, agreed, man. Agreed. He's done so much, man. So relevant.
So we kind of touched on the West Side Connection album. What did you think of that? Because I could tell you exactly what I thought of that shit. Jeez.
Right, keep it real. I never took Dub C seriously. The whole Dub C and the Mad Circle movement, I didn't really jump on board with that. A couple of songs that I thought were cool. Mac 10, same time. I don't know how many albums he dropped before West Side Connection, but being honest, none of them really caught much of my attention. Like I knew Dub C before West Side Connection. I can't remember what I knew from Mac 10 before West Side Connection. So Mac 10 was on my radar because of West Side Connection. And obviously we all knew Cube. But when they came together and I heard Bow Down was the first thing I heard, I think Bow Down's incredible. Like the song, listen, man, like that for me is one of the best, and I will put it into a category. It's one of the best West Coast songs for me, man. Like singles or whatever you want to say. That Bow Down, start to finish, is incredible. That's like pure fire. I love it. So as soon as the album dropped, I bought it literally off of the strength of Bow Down. Yep. So them as a movement, I thought the chemistry was good. And I began to take Dub C more seriously on the West Side Connection now, but I actually think he's quite sick, actually. I didn't take him serious before. I actually think he's quite sick. Mac 10 was cool. Ice Cube was the best out of the crew for me. And it did feel like he was the gel. But I think they only had 2 albums, I think, in it. I think it was the debut, which I love. I still got. I think it's and Terrorist Threats, yeah. So that weren't too bad. It not as good as the debut, but it weren't bad. Yeah, weren't a couple of tracks on there though. But I think I thought it was a good movement, a good link up, and I thought it was a good move for the West, man. And I enjoyed what they were doing, man. I liked it. Yeah, I read them.
Bow Down.
That was good.
Bow Down was so good that I remember where I was when I first heard it.
Yeah.
Yo MTV Raps. It used to come on Saturday mornings, but they used to do a replay on a Friday night, I think it was. So So I was up late, and it came. I was watching OMTV Raps as always, and it came on. Just heard the da da da, and I was like,
Sick.
"Oh, okay." Then when that beat drops, and then Ice Cube just come in, "The world is mine." I was
The world is mine.
bro, like my head just went like that was. I rinsed that song. Like I had to keep on spinning it back, and
Trust, exactly.
just the confidence and everything. I was like, when you come to our town, bow down. What, bro?
Trust me.
That album, yeah, different source. Not even the album, the song. The song got my attention. And like you, on the strength of that one song, there was no way I wasn't buying that album. And like you,
100.
I didn't really care about Dub C because he, like you said, he had a couple songs with the Mad Circle, but I wasn't really too tough on his rap style. I knew I wouldn't try and chat shit to him. Like he also wasn't someone that I would say was like a top tier MC. Like I heard Matt Thames albums before, and he was okay. Like he wasn't whack. Like he had some really good beats on his albums. He could pick beats. I'll give him that much as well. And he wasn't whack. It wasn't something I would say was an Ice Cube, like a top tier. So I wasn't expecting much from them too. But as a threesome,
the chemistry, man.
The chemistry, bro, you were spot on. The chemistry was perfect. Because I think Ice Cube was like, because they had a song called "The Gangster, the Killer, and the Dope Dealer," and I think
bro, sick.
That was brilliant because you literally did have the gangster. I think it was Dub C was the killer, and Mac 10 was the killer, and they literally brought all those three different elements to the group. The beats were incredible, top to bottom.
Definitely.
The diss track to Cypress Hill, they literally dissed New York. Fuck all the critics in the NYC. That song is crazy. So I was just like, you know what? Gotta hold my hands up, man. You lot killed it. Because as everyone probably knows, that I've got a lot of my close family that live in New York and in and around the East Coast. So that's what I grew up on. A lot of my influence and everything was East Coast. But I've never had any bias for the East Coast. Like
exactly.
I love East Coast, I love South, I love Chicago, Midwest. I love hip hop from wherever if it's dope. But that album right there, man, that literally went West Coast on the map. For you to tell New York bow down when you come to what? Come on, man. And
that is insane.
Say nothing because it was hard. Like if it came out and it was whack, then you'd be like, all right, cool. But I don't remember much pushback against that album. I mean, I know Common had his little thing, but when you think about them dudes were literally saying, fuck all of you in New York, and not many New York rappers said much. That kind of told you that they were like, yeah, okay, that shit's kind of hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's true. They definitely shook the game up a bit, man. And I think that's what I meant earlier when I said, say that again.
That's what we love. Yeah, the fact that there's people coming out and shaking stuff up.
Exactly. And I remember because I was talking about it with there's a group of us, and I felt like even though I loved it, there was a little bit about me that, like I said, I felt a bit like, man, like why they not rehashing, but just allow the whole East West just do your thing in it. I remember that song with Dub C. Actually, I think it was actually West Side Connection before West Side Connection. What was the song called? All three of them was on a song. I think it was Dub C's song though, and it was all together. And I remember Ice Cube was saying the sun rises in the east, but it sets in the west. And I just felt like it's like he does not want to let this whole. He wants people to know, boy, West Coast is the place, isn't it? So I felt like that was the common theme throughout the album. But like you, no bias. If I had to pick, then I'd probably say East Coast because that's what I grew up listening to more. But yeah, when that dropped, bro, I was just like, yeah, this is actually sick. I remember, man, that was just on repeat, my brother. Yeah, it was like, man, this is hard. This is hard. And all three of them held it down, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, all three of them. Sick, man. It's sick.
I'm gonna go listen to that once the episode's done, but I ain't spun that album in a minute.
Yeah, same actually. I'm gonna give it a listen soon, man. I ain't spun it for a while, same, but yeah, no, very good album, man.
Totally
On
agree,
point.
man. There was a discussion the other day about the Bix you knew that came out with Common's
Mm.
Diss. Some clown was saying something about I've only just realised that Common may have won this beef. Like what? Like Common scraped
Wow.
him. Let's be completely honest. Cube didn't even respond to that one. He
Nah.
was buried. Cool. But I'll say his major beef was with NWA.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I back Cube, to be honest with you. What he was saying about Jerry Heller and his group members and stuff. Like, I mean, once that song finished, like, right, okay.
So it was
Yeah, like, what do you think
disgusting.
about his beefs?
Yeah, man. Like you said regarding the Common, I was just impressed that Common kind of, because I've never really been a Common fan, as most people know, but Ice Cube is not someone that I'd want to be having any beef with. To be honest, I would not look at him as someone I'm willing to get into beef with, especially not. And that was like, you know what I mean, running with whole Messiah connection and everything and like that. But yeah, Common, he held it down. He done his thing. There's no doubt about that. Which is surprising when you think about it, because Ice Cube, he's not. I don't know what that was, man. I actually think he respected Common. I don't think he wanted no beef out of that. Do you know what I mean? I think he took what Common said personally, had a few words. Common came back. I think he was more probably thinking, you know what, good move. It was one of them ones. It was like, you know what, I ain't even gonna argue that. I like that. But it's like the school bully, innit? I always tell my kids, someone bullies you or something, man, don't hit first because you don't want to, you know what I mean? But yeah, give them a good clap, man. So like, no, right, okay, I better allow it. You get me? Sometimes you need to just show them that, listen, I ain't that guy. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's what Common done. But yeah, with NWA, definitely, I was backing Cube because it's the underdog in it when you think about it. Because you take a group like NWA, obviously Cube just from the offset from Straight Outta Compton, the way he started it, he's a standout guy. He done a lot of the writing, but you're thinking you still got some heavyweights left in the group. You got Ren, who's underrated. You know what I mean? He's a dope writer, dope rapper. I just don't think he had the star quality. You had Easy E, who isn't particularly a dope rapper, but you gotta like him. You know what I mean? There's just something about Easy E that everyone loves. I shouldn't say everyone, but that a lot of people love. So when Ice Cube left, and you can see why Chuck D is probably like, when we think about it, but when Ice Cube left and they're beefing, I'm thinking, right, this is interesting. Obviously, Ice Cube done his thing and came out victorious with no Vaseline. But I just want to throw out there that I think NWA's second album without Cube was surprisingly good. I think it's just as good as Straight Outta Compton, if we're really being honest. Do you know what I mean? So 100%. It is the production that.
If you actually look at the songs, a lot of that is very juvenile and ridiculous.
Yeah, and the lyrics are a lot like.
Listening to it as a kid, you're like, yeah.
It don't age well. Yeah, it hasn't aged well. Aged well.
Yeah.
But just for listening and like production and like, yeah, if you're really breaking it down, they was only impacted by the writing. But I think when you're just listening to them, and even in its time, it was just as good. I guess now as an adult listening to them both, I mean, they both got cringeworthy moments, definitely, but you can see the writing is impacted. But it was surprisingly good because I thought, well, without Cube, what would it be like? You know what I mean?
But you got to remember, they were really young when they made them they were like early 20s. So
exactly.
Stuff on there.
Exactly. But yeah, no, QB's held it down. I think most people, if we're talking about disc records, no Vaseline is always going to be brought up. Do you know what I mean? It's like one of the standards in it because he just goes in. Do you know what I mean? He goes in hard, boy. It's just relentless. But I'm trying to think. He's not really had anything else, has he? He's had the no Vaseline, NWA.
And then he had like the whole beef in New York on West Coast, West Side Connection. But
I can't think of he's not really had anything.
Like personally towards him after that. But yeah, I think he was just one of them MCs, especially in the early 90s, that people would be like, yeah, nah, I'm not.
Yeah, 100.
So I guess like as we said, he's clocked the game. If you were to ask someone if they were going to have the best rap career, they would say, all right, I want to make timeless music. I want to make albums that that basically impress and are classics. I want to make.
Mhm.
I want to have timeless songs, whatever. Maybe branch out into movies, maybe a bit of
Mhm.
TV, maybe a basketball tournament or something like that.
Yeah.
So when you think that he's done, not only has he done movies, he's got a production company. I think it was called Cube Vision or something like that.
Yeah. Keep Vision. Yeah.
Yeah, and on top of that, he's got classic movies like we all know about
Mm.
Friday. Whatever. What would you say is your favorite Cube movie outside of the music?
You know what? It's got to be Friday for me, man.
Hey man,
I know he's got so many good films and that, man. But the reason I say Friday is for me personally. I can watch that whenever, bro. And I'm still gonna belly laugh like I did the first time. You see what I'm saying? And to think that he wrote that, him and DJ Pooh, that they wrote that as well. I just think it's sick, man. And I personally think Friday is the most quoted hood movie of all time.
has to be.
Like even now, even people in our generation now, kids, I should say, sorry, in this generation now, sorry, will have Friday quotes. They won't even know where it's
Right.
from, but it's from Friday. Do you know what I mean?
Bye, Felicia.
The
Where
most.
did you get that from? Oh,
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? Yeah, true.
So many, man. And even in my life, like with the family or just stupid jokey things that you have, inside jokes and blah blah blah. So many of them are from Friday, man. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I used to say to my boys all the time if they was having cereal or whatever, and they'll be like, is there milk? I'll be like, you better go put some oil on that shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the funny ones we always do is whenever someone's in trouble, the two things we probably say the most when someone's upset, we still say he gonna cry in a car. Like we always say that, yeah. And yeah, like don't matter what the setting is, if someone's upset, he gonna cry in a car, right? Always say that. And the other thing is, whenever someone looks like they're gonna be in trouble or something, we always say, "It's your ass, Mr. Postman." You know what I'm saying? So much quotes from Friday, man. I love Friday.
You got
Yeah,
the F
easily.
out. That was a popular one.
Right. Come on, man.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Loads throughout the whole.
So many, man.
I want to knock the dust off that pussy. Like there's a million.
So many.
So
Brilliant film. Yeah, definitely Friday for me. You saying the same? Did you say?
Has to be. But what would you say are your top three if you were pressed?
Definitely Friday.
I've got one Cube film that might surprise you.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, I'd say definitely top three. Definitely Friday. Got to be Boys in the Hood, man. That may just be nostalgia, but I just think there was so much life lessons in that. To this day, whenever I'm cutting my son's hair, like I remember that scene. Do you know what I mean? With just like Furious Styles cutting his son's hair and everything like that. But yeah, Boys in the Hood definitely. And by nowhere am I saying that this is a great film, but it's a family favorite, man. Are we there yet? Definitely, bro. Like that makes us laugh. Like we went for a stage, right, where we probably watched that like every couple of weeks. We put "Are we there yet?" and "Are we done yet?" Like they're just like men. Like we just love that. It's a family favorite of ours, man. And I think for me as well, just knowing how Cube is, I loved seeing him just not take himself seriously, take the piss out of himself, just have fun. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I've got to say those three, man. Friday easily, Boys in the Hood, and then just for like the family favorite, it's got to be Are We There Yet, man? What are you saying?
Oh man, he's got a lot. I would have to say Friday, obviously, because that's probably my favorite Cube film, and a classic as we've just touched on. Three Kings.
Three Kings, man. I actually forgot about that, bro.
Yeah, that's the one I said might surprise you. That's a dope film.
I actually forgot about that, man.
I haven't watched it in a minute, but that film was dope. That film was really dope. So that was him, Mark Wahlberg, and George Clooney. Out in the desert, the gold. Yeah, dope film.
Yeah,
shit. Third one. Man. I really like Friday After Next.
Okay, yeah.
Original Friday, but I thought that was dope. I wasn't too much of a fan of Next Friday, if I'm honest.
Which is the one with Pinky in the CD shop where Ice Cube's trying not to laugh. That scene.
Yeah,
Oh, that scene, bro. To this day,
as
man,
a whole, I don't know. I think maybe because it came after such a dope film, I was holding it to a much higher standard.
Of course.
Hit that. Surprisingly, I liked XXX2, Triple X2.
Okay, yeah. That weren't bad actually.
It wasn't bad. It was okay. All About the Benjamins. Mike Epps was good. Yeah, I'll say Friday After Next as my third pick, I guess. But he's got a good filmography when you think about it.
Yeah, he has, man. He actually has. He was in High Learning as well, isn't it?
Yep, Higher Learning.
Yeah, High Learning.
He didn't have like a major role,
like a major scene,
character in there, but he wasn't like the main focus of that movie. You know?
Yeah.
So I'll go for those three as my go-to.
Good picks.
Yeah, man. So we've nearly hit an hour showing love to the West Coast legend, the man who calls himself
man,
the King of the West. We'll do some more tribute episodes, as he said at the top, man. 50th year of hip hop. I think it's only right that we spend some time saluting the people that gave us this culture and that we still enjoy to this day. I could still throw on Ice Cube albums. I could still throw on Ice Cube movies that are 20 plus years, no problem at all. Maybe 30 plus years old even. Which like speaks a lot in it. So we'll see who else will do a catch-up episode on. Definitely stick with us next week.
Man.
We got coming with that, and we got some great shit coming after that too. So stick with us on the My Type Heart podcast, man. So we'll sign out. From me, man. Always, your boy Stack in the building, and my co-defendant and co-host.
Nothing but love, man. E Major, My Type of Hype, the podcast that celebrates hip hop and not just the hype. Thank you for always tuning in and checking us out. Remember on Spotify as well. If you're not really, what's the word that's used? The YouTubian. So you know you got the opportunity there to listen on Spotify as well and share it, man. You know what I mean? It's just for the culture. We're just here celebrating the culture, man. Yeah, man. 50 years of hip hop, man. We love this thing right here, man. So yeah, nothing but love, man. Keep it hype, and until next week, peace.
Peace, guys. See you next week. You're gonna love it.